Welcome, everyone, to another deep dive. And this time, we're going to be diving into a chapter that's just jam-packed with like the biggest questions you can ask. Chapter 8 of the Bhagavad Gita. So, life, death,
Yeah.
what's it all about, the universe, all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing how a text that's, thousands of years old can still feel so relevant, right? Like
Yeah.
those are the same existential questions that we're all grappling with even today. And Arjuna, the warrior, at the heart of this dialogue, he's asking them directly.
Totally. And like today we have this translation with commentary. So it's like we're not even just reading the words, we're like getting into the minds of these ancient thinkers. And right away they get to the good stuff. Like right out of the gate, Arjuna hits Krishna with some seriously deep questions.
Oh, he does. He's like, okay, so what is Brahman? What is this, like, this me we talk about, And these aren't just like abstract philosophy questions. They get at the core of what it means to be human when we're trying to figure out, our purpose or facing loss, trying to make sense of it all.
Like Arjuna knew this was going to be like the cheat sheet for existence, right?
Right.
Like, okay, how do we figure this whole thing out? And the fact that he calls Krishna Madhusudhana,
Hmm.
which means slayer of the demon Madhu, like that's got to be significant.
Absolutely it is. It shows that Arjuna recognizes that this isn't just about information, right? He needs Krishna to help him slay the inner demons that cloud our understanding, the doubts, the ignorance, all of that.
Yeah, it's like asking for directions, but for your soul. It's not even just finding your way. It's like clearing away all that mental clutter that's keeping you lost in the first place.
Exactly. And once that's cleared, right, the chapter lays the groundwork. We're introduced to Brahman, Atman karma, these like foundational concepts of this ancient wisdom.
Okay, so let's break these down a little bit because it can feel kind of intimidating, right?
Sure.
Like walking into Philosophy 101.
Mm.
But if Brahman is like the cosmic canvas, as you once described it.
Then Atman, your true self, is the artwork, not your emotions or your desires or the roles you play, but like the unchanging essence beneath it all.
So when you're feeling lost or defined by, external stuff, just remember you are the artwork, not those like temporary strokes of circumstance.
Beautifully put. And all of this, the canvas, the artwork you exist with in this flow of and karma, it's not so much about punishment or reward, but about the natural consequences of our actions, right? So like ripples spreading out on a pond.
It's like what goes around comes around, but like on a cosmic scale. So
Exactly.
we've got the canvas, the artwork, the law of cause and effect. And just when you think you're starting to get it, chapter 8 says, hold my drink. Let's talk about death.
Right. And not just death as like an event, but death as a transition, a doorway to something else. And what's so interesting is how much emphasis is placed on our state of mind in that moment.
Yeah. Verses 5 and 6 were intense. It's like our final thoughts act as this spiritual compass guiding us even after death.
Mhm.
That makes you think about your priorities.
It does. And the chapter describes two paths, one leading to liberation bathed in light, and the other, well, not so much.
So it's not as simple as like dying on a Tuesday versus a Friday. There's more to it.
Much more. Think of it this way. The light represents knowledge awareness, connection to the divine, while the darkness symbolizes ignorance and attachment to the material world. It's about the inner landscape that we cultivate.
So it's less about when we die and more about how we die, the state of our inner world in that final moment.
Precisely. And this is where it gets really interesting because the chapter offers us a way to navigate this transition, to aim for that state of liberation through bhakti yoga, the path of devotion.
And this isn't about, elaborate rituals, right? It's something much more internal, more personal. So what does that look like in the context of this chapter?
Imagine constantly remembering Krishna, dedicating your actions to him, aligning your heart and mind with a force beyond yourself. That unwavering focus becomes your guide.
Okay, so less about checking off a to-do list and more about cultivating a certain mindset and interconnection. But the chapter does mention other paths to liberation. Jnana yoga, karma yoga, raja yoga.
Yeah.
Is it like a choose-your-own-adventure situation?
What's remarkable is that while these paths are distinct, they seem to converge. Verse 28 suggests that by fully embracing the path of devotion, you naturally reap the benefits of the others.
So all roads lead to Rome. But in this case, Rome is liberation.
Yes. And in verse 21, we get a sneak peek at what that liberation might look like, a description of Krishna's eternal abode.
Wait, hold on. We're going to get into wish-fulfilling trees and the sounds of Krishna's flute, because I'm here for it. Wish-fulfilling trees. Now, come on. Who needs a vision board when you got that kind of imagery? But really, it's such a powerful way to convey just like the bliss of liberation, isn't it?
Absolutely. Imagine a realm free from suffering where desires are fulfilled effortlessly. It's like the text is trying to give us just a taste of what's possible, even though words can only go so far.
It's like trying to explain the ocean to someone who's never seen it.
Yeah.
You could talk about waves and salt air, but until you've actually been there.
Exactly. And even if we can't fully grasp that experience of that eternal abode just yet, the chapter makes it clear that reaching this realm, it signifies liberation from this cycle of birth and death. It's about transcending those limitations of the material world and uniting with something much greater.
So it's not just about like escaping to a blissful paradise. It's about evolving beyond the need for the whole like merry-go-round altogether.
It is. And the beauty of the chapter 8 is that it doesn't just present this as some lofty ideal, right? It gives us practical ways to move towards that liberation. It's like a spiritual roadmap, offering different paths to that same destination.
And we've touched on these paths, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, karma yoga, raja yoga. But I'm curious to dive in a little deeper, especially with bhakti yoga, the path of devotion. What makes that so central to this chapter and to achieving liberation?
It's about cultivating that deep personal connection with the divine, with Krishna in this case. Remember those verses about our final thoughts shaping our destiny? Well, Bhakti Yoga is about making the remembrance of Krishna so ingrained in you, so much a part of your being, that it guides you even in that final moment.
Oh, wow. So it's like building this magnetic pull towards that state of liberation. Yeah. So no matter what else is happening, you're drawn in that direction.
That's a great way to put it. It's not about silencing your thoughts or denying the world around you, but about cultivating a focus so strong, so unwavering that it becomes your anchor.
Okay. But what about these other paths? Jnana yoga, karma yoga, raja yoga. Are they all just different ways of getting to that same state of remembrance, that connection with the divine?
That's a really interesting question. And the text seems to suggest that each path, while it has its own unique approach, they ultimately converge. Think of it like climbing a mountain, right? You can take different trails with their own challenges and scenery, but they all lead to that same peak.
And in this case, that peak is liberation.
Exactly. For example, Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge, it helps us discriminate between what's eternal and what's fleeting, leading us to a deeper understanding of our true nature, our Atman. And that knowledge then fuels our devotion, our yearning for that union with the divine.
Oh, I see. So it's not about choosing one path and ignoring the others. It's more like they work together, they complement each other.
Exactly. Karma Yoga, the path of selfless action, it reminds us that our actions have consequences and encourages us to act with awareness and compassion. And as we purify our actions, we purify our hearts and minds, creating a more fertile ground for that devotion to flourish.
And what about Raja Yoga? Always found meditation to be a little bit of a mystery.
Raja Yoga, with its emphasis on meditation, on control of the mind, it helps us quiet that constant chatter of thoughts and cultivate a state of inner peace and clarity. And this clarity allows us to see through the illusions of the material world and recognize our true nature as part of the divine, which in turn deepens our devotion.
So each path in its own way guides us toward that same state of inner transformation, that alignment with the divine.
Yes, they're not competing paths, but rather different facets of a multifaceted journey towards liberation. And what's so remarkable about Chapter 8 is that it doesn't describe these paths in isolation. It shows how they're all intertwined, how they support each other.
It's like the chapter saying, here are all the tools. Find what resonates with you and use them to craft your own unique path towards liberation.
I like that. It reminds us that the journey is deeply personal, even as it's rooted in these universal truths.
It's a good thing we've got this whole chapter to guide us because it's a lot to process.
Mm-hmm.
But even with all this talk of death, liberation, eternal abodes, there's something incredibly hopeful about it, isn't there?
There really is. It's a reminder that we are not just at the mercy of fate, right? That we have agency in shaping our own destiny, not just in this life, but beyond. And that's a powerful message no matter what your beliefs are.
Totally. But before we get too lost in the cosmos, I want to circle back to something you said earlier, this idea of final thoughts acting as a spiritual compass.
Ah, yes. It's a very potent concept.
It really is, and it got me thinking. If those final thoughts are like the key to our next destination, what can we do like right now in each moment to kind of steer ourselves in the right direction?
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot riding on cultivating the right state of mind, not just for a peaceful death, but for a life well lived.
That's really the crux of it. It's not just about that final breath, but about weaving that awareness and intention into everything we do. Each choice, each action, each thought, it becomes like a brushstroke on the canvas of our being.
So we're like constantly calibrating that inner compass even when we don't realize it.
Yeah,
And the more we align ourselves with those deeper truths, the more naturally we're drawn towards that liberation.
exactly. Like training a vine to grow towards the sunlight. With consistent effort, it becomes almost effortless. You develop a kind of spiritual muscle memory.
Makes you wonder, though, what does that consistent effort look like in everyday life? I mean, most of us aren't meditating in caves or, fighting epic battles like Arjuna.
And that's the beauty of these teachings. They're not meant to be abstract concepts, they're lived experiences. So while the context might be different, the essence remains the same.
Okay, so how do we translate remembering Krishna or cultivating unwavering focus into like navigating rush hour traffic or dealing with a difficult coworker, asking for a friend?
Think of it this way. Every moment becomes an opportunity to choose awareness over reactivity. So that difficult coworker, see if you can respond with compassion instead of anger. That traffic jam, maybe it's a chance to practice patience or just be present with that feeling of frustration without letting it consume you.
Oh, I see. So it's less about achieving some perfect state of bliss and more about just finding these little pockets of awareness throughout the day.
Mm.
Like, okay, I'm feeling stressed right now, but can I find a moment of gratitude
Yeah.
for, this comfy chair or
Exactly. It's about recognizing that even in the middle of chaos, there are always opportunities to connect with something deeper, something beyond the immediate circumstances. And those small moments, practiced consistently, they have a way of rippling outwards, transforming not just our inner world, but our interactions with everything around us.
It's like that quote, be the change you wish to see in the world. But in this case, it's like be the liberation you seek.
Beautifully put. And that liberation, as Chapter 8 reminds us, it's not separate from ourselves. It's something we tap into, something we cultivate from within. It's a journey, not a destination. And even though it deals with these big concepts, life, death, the universe, there's a beautiful simplicity to it.
It's a good reminder that we don't have to have it all figured out to take the next step.
Exactly. Every moment is a fresh start, a chance to realign, to choose awareness, to remember who we truly are.
And on that note, I think we've done our fair share of remembering today. This conversation has given me a lot to think about, and I hope it's done the same for you.
It's always a pleasure diving deep with you.
Until next time, everyone, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking those moments of liberation in the everyday.